Hey, good evening, Fremont Community Church. How we doing? I hope everybody's had a pretty good day. Been busy for me, but it's all good. Right now, the ladies are enjoying another night of Mary and Martha, so I'm kind of playing the Bachelor tonight. But I figured I'd get on here and give y'all a quick message. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of The Thread. I'm not going to explain it. I think y'all kind of got it by now. I'll reiterate it occasionally, but anyway. Like I said, I pray y'all had a great day. So let's go through this. We're going to talk about the parable of the tenants. I'm going to warn you, this one's a little more brutal than most of them, but there are some lessons we can glean from it that serve almost as a warning more than an encouragement. But we're gonna muddle through this the best we can. Uh, this one got me a little bit, but it's all right. Let's see where God takes us in this. Okay, so I'm going to read the parable of the tenants. For those of us that aren't really familiar with it, it's found in Luke 20, verse 9 through 19, but it's also found in Mark and Matthew. So you shouldn't have trouble running across it. But here we go, starting in verse 9. He went on to tell the people this parable. A man planted a vineyard, rented it to some farmers, and went away for a long time. At harvest time, he sent a servant to the tenants so that they would give him some of the fruit of the vineyard. But the tenants beat him and sent him away empty-handed. He then sent another servant, but that one they also beat and treated him shamefully and sent him away empty-handed. Still he sent a third, and they wounded him and threw him out. Then the owner of the vineyard said, "What shall I do? I will send my son, whom I love. Perhaps they will respect him." But when the tenants saw him, they talked the matter over. "This is the heir," they said. "Let's kill him, and the inheritance will be ours." So they threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. What then will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and kill those tenants and give the vineyard to others. When the people of God heard this, they said, "God forbid." And Jesus looked directly at them and asked, "Then what is the meaning of that which is written? The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Everyone who falls on that stone will be broken to pieces. Anyone on whom it falls will be crushed." The teachers of the law and the chief priests looked for a way to arrest him immediately, because they knew he had spoken this parable against them, but they were afraid of the people. So let's summarize this a little bit. After the harvest, this vineyard owner sends the dude who planted this vineyard, sent some people to collect the fruit, to collect their share. And in each case, the tenants mistreated or abused or killed anyone the landowner sent, including his son. So Jesus went on to further explain this. He said, when the landowner went back to the vineyard, he would kill the tenants and give the vineyards to others. See, when Jesus told this parable, he was speaking to the Jewish people, the people that refused to heed his teaching, that refused to hear what he was saying and truly grasp it. If you think about it, it says here the Pharisees were already plotting to kill him because they perceived that he was going to start a rebellion against them. But the moral lesson that is found in here is as much for us today as it was for the people in that time. And that moral lesson is real simple, that if we live our lives in sinful ways, we're going to get our just desserts. We're going to forfeit the gifts that God offers. Because we have to remember, we are stewards of God's kingdom on earth. And everything that we have is through his abundant love. He didn't have to give us anything. And he sent many things. He sent prophets and ministers. He sends fellow Christians our ways. He even sent Christ to get us to return as his children, to return to him as his children. If we choose to reject God, if we choose to reject his son, if we choose to reject everything that God stands for, the natural result is we will lose out on his promise of eternal glory. Because this gift is reserved for those who follow him. And if we follow him, we tend to obey the ones we follow. So here are a few lessons that I grasped from this. Like I said, this is not an easy one. This one's kind of gnarly, but let's see where we go with this. First, we are God's tenants in his kingdom. God is he offers us an amazing vineyard. He offers us these abundant blessings that come our way as followers of Christ. But he does this with an expectation. He does it with an expectation that we bear fruit and we give him his rightful share. That we bear fruit, that we use the gifts that he's given us to do something with it for his kingdom. Now, he doesn't force these relationships on us, but he offers it freely. And the choice is actually ours. We have the choice to make. We can live giving glory and honor to God, thus bearing fruit with our lives, or we can forfeit his everlasting kingdom. Jesus wants us to choose him. That's actually his will. But as I said before, he's a gentleman. He won't force us to do anything we don't want to do. But when we don't choose God, when we choose other things other than God, we in effect choose death. We choose separation when we don't choose God. We choose separation from God, which is a form of death. Lesson 2 here is don't kill the son. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, as a pastor, people do not like tough messages. They don't. I mean, it's really hard, if you think about it, to imagine an angry God who would condemn his people. It's hard to think of God that way because we talk about a loving God. And sometimes we don't like the message. And when we don't like the message, we kill the messenger. We go after the preacher. We go after the person that's telling a hard lesson, just like the tenants did. But just because you kill the messenger, just because you shut out the preacher, just because you shut off the people that are trying to help you, the message does not change. See, the Jews were angry because they were angry with Jesus because they didn't like him criticizing their hypocritical lifestyle. Today, many people that we know, that we love dearly, still don't like Jesus' message. Many want salvation without any responsibilities. Maybe they want mercy without having to turn from their sinful ways. Or maybe they think God is this genie in a bottle that grants their wishes, but they don't really ever consider God's will in the matter. See, whatever we might think of God's expectations, whatever we think of the things he expects of us, it doesn't change the expectation. See, Jesus came to make a way for all of us, for our salvation in a sinful world. And if you can't see this is a sinful world, you need to pick up a newspaper because it's a mess. But if we get angry at him because we don't like the message, that doesn't mean the message changes. If we kill Jesus by turning our back on him, the message still didn't change. Instead, when we don't like Jesus' message, when he gives us a message hard to grasp, or a message that we just struggle with, perhaps the best solution is to turn to him and with your whole heart explore why you're in disagreement. Remember, he's always right. So if there's a disagreement, the problem lies with us. And if you ask him, he'll help you make sense of his message. If you have an open heart, if you'll listen with your heart as well as your ears, he will instruct you properly. The third lesson you can get from this is we are all called to bear fruit. God gives us all sorts of different physical and spiritual gifts. Just like he gave the tenants a fertile vineyard to work, he gives us the tools that we need to serve him. But what we do with these gifts is our own choice. See, God expects us to do something worthwhile with these gifts. He expects us to do something that honors him. He expects us to do something that expands his kingdom. So I got a couple questions for you. Are you bearing fruit? What kind of fruit should you be bearing? See, we're not all called to be preachers or pastors. That is a unique calling. And we don't have to become missionaries. We don't have to live among the poor to serve God. God just wills us to do his work. In many ways, in whichever way we choose to honor and glorify him. Maybe that's helping an elderly neighbor during this winter with the snow removal. Maybe that's a volunteer to local jail or prison ministry. Perhaps even take a meal to someone who's homeless. How about pray for a stranger in need? I don't know how many times I walk through Walmarts, I wear all my Jesus shirts and stuff, and I encounter somebody that just starts talking to me. I guess I got that talk to me face. I don't know. How many opportunities do I have to pray with people because they'll bare their world to me? And I don't know why they do it, but I better do something with it. See, there's endless ways of bearing fruit for God. You don't necessarily have to be a preacher. You do not necessarily have to be a Sunday school teacher. You do not necessarily have to sing on a praise team to serve God. To be perfectly honest, in many ways, the person who empties the trash, in my eyes, the person who greets at the door is far more important than me, and I stand up on the platform and speak. Because they're the first thing that the person walking the door is going to notice. So in a sense, they're more important to me. Their job is more vital than mine. Because they are the first face. They are the face of the church. They're the things that's the first thing that people will remember when they walk into our church. So step out and do something. Do something that honors God. And if he doesn't give you a clear path to take, because for years he didn't give me a clear path. I sang in choirs. I taught Sunday school classes and stuff. I think it was right, but he didn't always give me the clear path. I had to kind of find my way at times. But start by doing something that satisfies his command. The one that's really, really easy is the second greatest command: love one another. And he'll lead you from there. The fourth lesson, the final lesson here, is there is a consequence. Whenever we talk to people about going to hell, it brings up the image of an angry and vengeful God. And it really makes people uncomfortable. Now, I want you to remember the point that we talked about earlier about killing the messenger. Because no matter what you think of the message, it remains the same. See, we can't ignore the end of this parable, in which Jesus said the vineyard owner finally returns. And when he does, he will kill the tenants that currently live in the vineyard, and he'll give it to others. Do you think he said that flippantly? He did not. See, this is uncomfortable if you really want to think that there is a bad consequence to saying no to God. There really is. We need to remember that his consequences, though, are always fair. And there's always plenty of opportunity for us to change our ways. Thank God there's been opportunities to correct some of the mess ups from my past. See, the God we serve is very patient. He is slow to anger. And he's not in a hurry to condemn us. But, and there's a but in there, he will give us our desire. If we continually refuse him, he will allow us to condemn ourselves in a sense. The sentence will be carried out if we don't receive the grace. Going back to Sunday's message for a moment. The choice is all ours. Because when we turn our back on God, we are choosing the consequences of that action. Now, I know this is not a feel-good Thursday evening message. I didn't like writing it. It wasn't a lot of fun preaching it. But I hope you understand where I'm going with this, because I believe most of y'all are on the right path. But we are called to bear fruit. We are called to minister to others. We are called to step out of our church and do something for Fremont. We are not called to sit on our blessed assurance in church every Sunday, sing the songs or not sing the songs, hear a message, and then feel good about ourselves because we got the check mark in the go to church box for the week, and go on with our lives as usual. God is a God of radical change. And if you will allow him to work in you, you will experience that change. So, the big takeaway for you here is bear fruit. Do something with what God has given you. We all have a gift, and there is no retirement age on service. I hope y'all have a blessed night. I love every one of you. Have a great day.